Salutations everyone. Based on where you're watching this, you could probably see the title and you're probably wondering, what is she getting ready to go on about today? Well, the thing that I want to talk to you about today is the way that women, girls, whatever word you want to use to describe people with the ability to conceive, and even sometimes those that can't, because there is a problem, not just in this country, but in a lot of countries and a lot of places. Women are seen as lesser than and treated like objects and disrespected simply because of how they were born or how they present. And being called a girl is seen as an insult to men. It's seen as attacking their masculinity because being a girl is weak. Even though without women there wouldn't be men, due to the fact that you wouldn't be born. Never mind all the things that women have to deal with, but yes, of course we're the weaker ones because we don't naturally have as much musculature as men do, because we have to work harder at it. It's really not even because we're weaker, it's testosterone. In a lot of cases, women are stronger, but that's just, once you bring up the fact that it's a woman, this all gets ignored. Throughout history, women have been seen as objects, people without rights. They were said to not have souls and to be solely put on this planet for men's pleasure. In the early 1900s, marital rape was not seen as a thing, because when you got married, you agreed to have sex with your husband whenever you wanted. And even if you said no, you're married, so it doesn't count, it doesn't matter. You couldn't get a divorce without explicitly proving that they did something wrong, and they could ignore you even if you had that proof. It's like, unless he was a straight up serial killer, you were just kind of stuck with him. And then in other countries, there was arranged marriages, and you couldn't say no. The custom of women wearing a veil, you can't see your husband before the marriage, is because of arranged marriages. And if the wife saw the husband before they got married, they might think they were hideous and run away, and so you weren't allowed to see them until the last moment, and then you were just stuck with each other forever. Women had to ask their parents, their father's permission, even though they were above the age of 18. Nowadays, once you're 18, you're an adult. Parents can't do anything, but you were your father's property until you were married, and then you were your husband's property until you died or he died. And then if he died, you were expected to mourn him and then get married again. And if you didn't get married again, you were judged, you were shunned. And it's why, how did this come about? This had to start somewhere for some reason, but it's not one that I've been able to track down. Why this being the things that are traditionally female, like dressing nicely or taking care of your appearance, being clean, seen as feminine traits, and thus if a man does them, they're seen as gay or not manly. They had to make a whole word for it, like metrosexual. It just means that you dress nice and you take care of yourself, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're gay or anything, because being gay is the absolute worst thing that you could be as a man, of course, because there's not worse things like having cancer or something that are worse things to have than the gay. But I didn't make these decisions, because if I did, that wouldn't be one of them for sure, because it doesn't make any sense. people with uteruses have periods and then they're seen as crazy because, you know, you can't control your emotions and your hormones taking over your rational thought. And the thought of a woman in power having a period, they could launch the nuclear missiles and start a war, or just make everything fall apart. Because, you know, it's not like there hasn't been royalty that was run by females and it was fine, of course. It's not like there were women that went into battle and it was fine, of course. Like, there is proof throughout history that all of that is ridiculous, and yet it's still a thing that people say. Like, even my own mother has said, "Oh, are you on your period?" when I was upset with something, and she would say it like it was a joke, but it was insulting. I can't be upset. There has to be a reason. There's a reason, and it has nothing to do with what my body is doing. It's from emotion. It's something that you did, and people just can't own up to that fact. It's just because women are crazy, and the other women have just accepted that as something that they have to deal with, and that's not okay. Having a vagina is not a defining trait. It's something that you have, and depending on the type of person you are, whether you are a cis female or maybe a transgender male, and having this thing and being ridiculed for it like it was your fault, like it's something that you can control, like it's something that, just based on all the insulting things that are said to you and done to you and expected of you for having it, that you wouldn't just get rid of it, is absurd. Me personally, since I have basically no intention of ever having kids, if I could just make it go away, I would. I know there's a lot of people that disagree with that statement, and that's fine. We can agree to disagree. We don't have to agree. I'm not you and you're not me. The only thing we need to agree on is the fact that it's mine to do with what I please, and I shouldn't have other people, especially people that don't have one, dictating what I can do with it. Like the whole abortion laws thing, like there are things that are like, one example that I read the other day was saying, 16-year-old wants an abortion, so the judge had to prove that she was mature enough to get it. She needs to be mature enough to terminate an unwanted pregnancy, but she doesn't need to be mature enough to have an entire child to take care of, because that makes sense. And yeah, I guess she could get rid of it, just bring it up for adoption or something. But if she doesn't do that, then she just has a whole kid. But nobody does any maturity test for that. A 16-year-old can't go out and go, I want to adopt a kid. They would laugh in their face. But having one, well, you got yourself in this situation, so now you just have to deal with it. Also ridiculous. Why are these the choices that we're making as a country, as a world? It doesn't make any sense. And I feel like people should have independent rights to their own body, because it's theirs, and what they do with it doesn't affect other people 99.9% of the time. Unless you're using it to like assault people, then obviously, yeah, don't do that. But if I want to get tattoos, if I want to dye my hair, if I want to get piercings, if I want to tear out my uterus, that's none of your business. 100% zero, and you shouldn't comment on it, especially as someone who cannot relate at all. And if you just stop to consider, like, what if this was your mother or your sister or your wife or your daughter, and if you have none of those, then you really have no business making any judgment. And if you say, well, God's not here. He's not making this decision. You are. And if he really cares, if God is a man, if God is a woman, if God isn't anything, then God will deal with it. on Judgment Day or whatever you believe in. You, as a human being, don't need to intervene. Just mind your business. And with that, I will end this video. Thank you for watching this, if you sat through this entire thing. And if you want to keep watching me, subscribe. I'd appreciate it. And until next time, may God be with you.